Welcome back, thrill seekers, to Season 6 of our journey into the unknown, the Forest of the Forgotten. Remember our theme for this season. The deeper you go, the louder the whispers become. We're about to venture deep into a place where the trees hold secrets and the paths play tricks on the mind. This is episode 21, The Trail That Loops. Deep within the heart of an ancient woodland, there's a trail whispered about only in hushed tones among seasoned hikers. They say this old forest path has a strange, unnerving quality. It always leads back to where you started, no matter which way you go, no matter how carefully you follow your compass. It's a place that doesn't want you to leave, a natural labyrinth designed by something far older than memory. For most, it's just a spooky campfire story, a legend to add a little thrill to a weekend camping trip. But for one hiker, Liam, this legend was about to become a terrifying reality. Liam was an experienced outdoorsman. He'd conquered mountains and navigated dense wilderness without breaking a sweat. So when he heard the stories about the looping trail, he smirked. A challenge. He packed his gear, confident in his skills and armed with a roll of bright red trail tape, a simple, foolproof method to mark his path and ensure he could always find his way back. He believed logic and preparation could overcome any folktale. He was wrong. He set up his tent at the trailhead, a small clearing where the woods seemed to draw a deep breath before swallowing the path whole. The air was still, heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. As he stepped onto the trail, the forest seemed to close in around him, the canopy overhead so thick it blotted out the sun, casting everything in a perpetual twilight. Every 10 yards, just as he'd planned, Liam tied a strip of red tape to a prominent tree branch, a vibrant slash of color against the muted greens and browns of the ancient woods. He felt a sense of control, of mastery over the supposed mystery. An hour passed, then 2. The trail twisted and turned, but it was nothing he hadn't seen before. He kept a steady pace, marking his path methodically. He felt the familiar rhythm of the hike, the crunch of leaves under his boots, the steady beat of his own heart. But a strange feeling began to creep into the back of his mind, a subtle sense of repetition. Hadn't he passed that oddly shaped, moss-covered boulder before? Was that the same cluster of ferns with the broken frond? He shook his head, dismissing it as paranoia, the forest playing tricks on his eyes. He pushed onward, determined to break the so-called loop. Another hour melted away. The light began to fade faster now, the twilight deepening into a gloomy dusk. And then he saw it. Up ahead, tied to the thick branch of an old oak tree, was a flash of crimson, a piece of his red tape. A wave of relief washed over him, quickly followed by a cold nod of confusion. He must have circled back somehow despite his best efforts. Annoyed but not yet panicked, he decided to reevaluate his route. As he got closer to the marked tree, however, the knot in his stomach tightened into pure ice. Something was wrong. The tape. It looked different. He reached out and touched it. The knot was tight, the ends crisp and clean. It looked as if it had been tied just moments ago. It was freshly tied. His own markings, the ones he'd tied hours before, were already showing signs of weathering, slightly loosened by the breeze, a bit of moisture clinging to them. This one was perfect, too perfect. A sudden, chilling realization dawned on him. He hadn't just circled back to his own mark. Someone had retied it. He spun around, his heart hammering against his ribs. The forest was silent, but it was a watchful silence. He wasn't alone. He had been so focused on marking the path ahead of him that he never thought to look behind. Someone, or something, was following him, following his trail of red tape, systematically replacing each marker as he went. They weren't just following him. They were walking the same loop, just a few steps behind, always out of sight, ensuring he could never truly leave. He was being herded, trapped in a circle by an unseen shepherd. The whispers of the forest were no longer in his head. They were right behind him. Weeks later, when Liam was officially reported missing, a search and rescue team was dispatched to the old forest. They found the trailhead and the path marked with bright red tape, just as his trip plan had detailed. The experienced rescuers followed the markers, expecting them to lead to a campsite or, at worst, an accident. But the trail just kept going, winding deeper into the woods. After hours of walking, they found themselves back at a familiar clearing, staring at a marker they had passed before. The trail led in perfect, repeating circles. Following the looping path over and over, they finally made a grim discovery. At the center of one of the circles, right where the trail began and ended, sat Liam's empty tent. It was undisturbed, his gear neatly packed inside, as if he had just stepped out for a moment and never returned. The red tape, the very tool meant to guide him to safety, had instead become the bars of his cage. The trail didn't just loop, it was a prison, and its warden was never found. What happened to Liam in the center of that endless circle remains a mystery, another secret swallowed by the forest of the forgotten. Want to uncover the full story behind the trail that loops? We're diving even deeper into the lore and eyewitness accounts that inspired this tale. Watch the full video linked right here. And if you love scary stories and want to explore more dark corners of the world with us, don't forget to follow and subscribe for more horror chills. Thank you for joining us in the shadows. We'll see you next time.